Friends, I would like to share with you some of the facts that NCDs are in rise and cardiovascular disease is one of the top sharer of NCDs. And more than 65% deaths are because of NCDs. More than 65. Then we have been always considering of conventional risk factors like diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, smoking. But we have not been considering any other factor involved in it. It will also be, we will let you know in another few seconds or minutes, that around 20% of the patients who suffer from CAD do not have either any risk factor or they have one risk factor. So it's not lipid, it's not diabetes, it's not smoking, it's not hypertension only, it's not a small little a, LPA, small a, it's not homocysteine, it's something other, something else also. So the medical science has been always after this fact. What is that something else? You also know that in India, CAD occurs prematurely. And by premature we mean that in a person less than 40 years. 12 to 15% of CAD deaths occur in young age. 52% CAD deaths occur in less than 52 years of age, 50 years of age, and 25% in less than 40 years of age. Indians have about threefold more chances of developing CAD at a younger age group. Around threefold they have chances. So in our country, it's more so essential that we recognize the fault, we treat the fault accordingly. And I congratulate Cadila people. I thank them for having invited me to deliberate on this very common and important topic, which is always near our heart. And I asked one of my very dear student, यार थोड़ा वेट तुम्हारा ज़्यादा है, बोला कि सर शादी के बाद घट जाएगा. I don't know what happens after marriage, that the weight is reduced. He told, sir, तब तक खाने दो जब तक शादी नहीं हुई है. So sir, obesity is also very important factor. So let us go on to the proper slides now. So sirs, why this slide and why this topic? This topic was put by Cadila because they are innovative. Because they want some innovation in treatment, innovation in medicine. And there are many drugs which they have brought, and Polycap is one of the most important drugs. So this slide only tells you that the disease actually begins. The disease actually begins at the very young age, from the first decade, and then gradually it builds and builds and builds, and then what you see is the outcome. So this slide has been purposely put here just to tell you that you need to take care of your children from the very childhood, which we are not taking care. And there are many issues regarding the health of children. And there are works going on how to reduce 90% CAD from the very beginning. So this is just to tell you that it starts there and you need to work very hard. Now let us see the cardiovascular disorders epidemiology. It's the first cause. It's a leading cause of death, and globally it causes 31% mortality, and in India it causes 28% mortality. But in India, it causes, the disease is there in much younger age. However, if you go for a angiogram of the younger people, usually they have single vessel disease. But if they are associated with diabetes, then they have the worst type of CAD, and 12 to 16% of CAD patients are younger than 40 years, as I told you earlier also. Now, what are the risk factors? There are certain conventional risk factors about which we have been talking, and there are some newer risk factors about which we have not been talking, and thanks to Cardilla people who have come out, although it's a known scientific fact, but the Cardilla people are coming with the answer to that risk factor, and that is inflammation. So diabetes is one risk factor, lipids or dyslipidemia, hypertension, obesity, hemostatic and thrombotic factors, then behavioral factors, demography and genetics. Genetics have recently been recognized as a cause and as a point to be attacked. You see, unfortunately, in 19% of the patients, there is no risk factors. And if you see, there is one risk factor in almost 60% of the patients. Then, 60% of those who develop coronary events have only one or even none of the risk factors. More than half have either normal, or mildly increased lipid values. So lipid is not the only culprit which is responsible, and we have been trying to tackle the lipid and lipid only. So friends, what's the reason for atherosclerosis and ACS without any risk factor? The other day I was discussing with Dr. Kamlesh Tiwari, and he told me, sir, आप बोलते रहते हो कि ये है वो है, ये रिस्क फैक्टर ठीक करो, वो रिस्क फैक्टर ठीक करो, तो सर बहुत सालों को तो बिना रिस्क फैक्टर के हो जाता है. There are so many young people who have no risk factor, still they get the problem. So where lies the? One of the greatest example is Dr. DNC, who does not smoke, he is not obese, you have seen him. He doesn't have dyslipidemia, he doesn't have hypertension, he does yoga as per the advice of Munger, very regular yoga practitioner, and still he had it. So what was that? That is $1 million question, and this is where we come. Advances in basic and experimental sciences have substantiated the role of inflammation in atherosclerosis. And it's now a proven fact. There is no doubt about that. There is no controversy about that. However, it is not the only factor, and it is associated with almost all diseases that I have told you: hypertension, diabetes, obesity, dyslipidemia. They all have implicated in inflammation. Atherosclerosis is no longer considered a blind lipid disorder, but as a disorder characterized by low-grade vascular inflammation, and inflammation promotes initiation of atheroma, evolution of atheroma, and precipitations of acute thrombotic complications of atheroma. You may question me, sir, is there any bacteria also involved? Sir, I will say yes. It has been found that the herpes virus and the C. pneumoniae have been implicated as an inflammatory reason for this disease, but till date there is no antibiotic which does good in this condition. So the CRP is one of the markers which can be very easily noted down, which can be very easily examined and assessed. Otherwise, so many biomarkers are there, so many inflammatory markers are there about which Dr. Upendra Prasad had just now elucidated, like interleukin, leukotriene, this and that. And so many studies have shown that if the CRP is higher, the chances of the disease of different types like CSD, death, MI, stroke, CSD, etc., in different studies, so many robust studies have shown that if CRP is higher, then the chances of getting the problem is high. You see, it has been in this slide, in this, it's not ready. In the first one slide, you see, it has been compared that higher the level of CRP, more is the chances of developing MI or CAD. Relative risk of CVD is related to this level of CRP. Then, at all levels of lipid, LDL-C especially, which is said to be the culprit, you will find that the level of CRP determines the percentage of CAD. Inflammation and atherosclerosis. Central role of inflammation in all phases of atherosclerosis. Correlation of inflammatory markers and ischemic events. You have seen that higher the CRP, more the chances of developing CAD. Inflammatory markers can be, then what's the utility? Inflammatory markers can be used for risk stratification and may also yield new therapeutic target in future, which they have tried to get and they are getting it now. And this fact has gone several changes. What we said in 2003 was the measurement of high sensitivity CRP may help direct further evaluation and therapy in the primary prevention of CVD. May help. Then but it was also thought, why not to measure the high sensitivity CRP in whole population? It was not practical. It was not suggested. Then in 2010, it was suggested that measure CRP in apparently healthy elderly people to identify cardiovascular risk. So in 2010, it was suggested that measure the CRP to identify. And what is there in 2013? Use of high sensitivity CRP for stratifying the high risk patients for atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, and now it's established one of the biomarkers, one of the risk factors is now established as this. Then you already know that there is native LDL, then it enters into the cell, then it gets oxidized, then there is a circulating monocyte, it gets into it, then it gets converted into macrophages. How it does? Let us see. There is entry of monocyte through endothelium in the cell. What happens then? It enters, and then on the other side, the LDL also enters. Then what happens? LDL gets oxidized. Then what happens? This oxidized LDL works as a trigger for inflammation. As you have seen in orthopedic department, that there is a trigger for inflammatory markers. So is the trigger here. And then what happens? It starts two different pathways to be activated, like NF-κB, and it stimulates the dendrite cells also in the intima. Then what happens? That two different pathways get activated, NF-κB pathway, as Dr. Upendra Prasad told you, and kynurenine pathway, and this is related to dendrite cells pathway. Then what happens? That there is formation of home cell, but friends, this can there are so many inflammatory mediators which come out if the NF-κB pathway gets stimulated, like CRP. So, this curcumin is an anti-inflammatory agent. It has some role in CVD. It decreases C-reactive protein and malonidase. It decreases MI associated with CABG, significantly reduces the serum cholesterol. It prevents progression of diabetes. It has also been found to prevent the progression of diabetic nephropathy by attenuating the proteinuria, TGF-B cells and interleukin-8 in diabetic nephropathy. So it helps in diabetes also, and it's almost an inflammatory agent for diabetics also, and there is decreased fasting glucose and this HbA1c and insulin resistance index. So it helps diabetes and to prevent its complications also. The other pathway that I was telling you is the carnitine pathway. Tryptophan is metabolized ultimately to 3-hydroxyxanthinic acid, and this is where we are this product 3-HAA is anti-atherogenic, and it also reduces LDL also. So I will not go into details of it. It inhibits the activation of nuclear factor Kb. Its activity of nucleo-inducible nitric oxide synthesis and interleukin-2, etc. are also inhibited. Therefore, 3-HAA reduces the uptake of oxidized LDL. It prevents the uptake of oxidized LDL by macrophages, and therefore it prevents the formation of foam cell. Once this 3-HAA is there, LDL gets its potentiality reduced, and then macrophages are not produced and formation of foam cell is not there. Therefore, triggering of the formation of plaque is not there. It has been seen that if you lipid metabolism related 3-HAA effect on lipid metabolism, you will see that it inhibits TNF-alpha-A in macrophages, involves PPR which contributes to the release of 3-HAA on plasma proteins, significantly increases the mRNA for ApoA1 and ABCA1 leads to increase in increase in HDL. So it has some effect in the increment of HDL, which is beneficial, and increase in RPA1 and MRA leads to reduced plasma level of LDL. So different studies have shown that 3-HAA is beneficial, and in plasma lipid, if you see, it reduces the placebo versus the 3-HAA. You will find that plasma cholesterol is reduced, triglycerides is reduced, VLD increases, and VLDL is decreased. So what it does, it is favorable on all elements on all parts of the lipid profile, and then cholesterol is reduced, triglyceride is reduced, HCl is increased, and VLDL is reduced. So all anemical cholesterol particles are reduced and friendly particles are reduced. However,